WEWS,
the Overnight Underground Podcast. Here's the headlines. Joe says he's an innocent man. Trump claims COVID in China link.
That's enough.
The Illinois governor gets foot and mouth disease. Michigan goes nuts. And India invents giant COVID tongs. These stories and more coming up on today's Overnight Underground News. I'm John Ford. Presumptive presidential Democratic nominee Joe Biden released a statement Friday morning that the allegations of sexual impropriety with Tara Reade are, quote, they aren't true. This never happened. Biden has been under the microscope from his political enemies and others, claiming that this proves the hypocrisy within the Democratic Party and the Me Too movement. Of course, yesterday's tautology apologetic by the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, didn't help.
Here's the thing. I have complete respect for the whole Me Too movement. I have 4 daughters and 1 son. And there's a lot of excitement around the idea that women will be heard and be listened to. There is also due process. And the fact that Joe Biden is Joe Biden, there's been statements from his campaign, or not his campaign, but his former employees who ran his offices and the rest, that there was never any record of this. There was never any record.
Nancy Pelosi yesterday defending Joe Biden from sexual assault accusations. At least I think that's what she was doing. Here's Biden on MSNBC's Morning Joe on Friday.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Wait, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one.
No, it is not true. I'm saying unequivocally, it never happened. And it didn't. It never happened.
Yesterday, MSNBC's Chris Hayes found himself on the wrong end of a rabid Twitter mob, which is always a pain in the patootie, as hashtag Fire Chris Hayes was trending like wildfire. The cable talking head is the first primetime host on the left-leaning MSNBC to cover Tara Reade's sexual assault allegations against Biden. And Biden supporters, well, they didn't like it.
Well, sir, I don't like it.
Biden had been seen as the safe choice among the Democratic candidates, but with his sexual assault allegation, his rambling and sometimes crazy and mumbling speech,
poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids,
and little things like confusing his wife and his sister, there's no doubt that Hillary is cowering in the corner, salivating like a rabid dog and just waiting for the right time to pounce. The president claims to have seen the evidence that links a lab in Wuhan, China, to the start of the coronavirus pandemic.
Yes, I have. And I think that the World Health Organization should be ashamed of themselves because they're like the public relations agency for China.
Trump at yesterday's news circus. When he was pressed about the proof, he responded, quote, I can't tell you that. I'm not allowed to tell you that. President Trump also said this concerning any retribution towards China.
That I want to find out what happened. I think we'll be able to get a very good, very powerful definition of exactly what happened. They could have stopped it. They are a very brilliant nation, scientifically and otherwise. It got loose, let's say, and they could have capped it. They could have stopped it.
Of course, China has denied any involvement. Who you kidding? We all know that Bill Gates paid China and Nancy Pelosi to cook it up in her $1 million refrigerator so ice cream futures would spike.
That's a little joker.
Now comes word that Trump is going to hold China accountable for COVID-19. CNN is reporting the punishment would include possible sanctions and cancellation of U.S. debt. Well, it seems that a politician sticking his foot in his or her mouth is becoming a daily occurrence here on the Overnight Underground. Please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, the governor of Illinois to the club.
Well, pal, join the club.
During an Illinois coronavirus press conference, Governor Pritzker said this when asked by a reporter why his wife wasn't following his and the state's stay-at-home order.
Well, first of all, I want to say that in politics, it used to be that we kept our families out of it. You know, my official duties have nothing to do with my family. So I'm just not going to answer that question. It's inappropriate, and I find it reprehensible, honestly, that reporter wrote a story about it.
Reports are that the governor's wife hopped on a plane for a little vacay in Florida. The governor, according to ChicagoBusiness.com, owns a $12 million horse farm in Florida, which he purchased back in 2018. Of course, the best answer, A horse, of course. Of course. Yeah.
I'd horsewhip you if I had a horse.
Of course, the best answer he could have given would have been, she's staying at home. Just a different home. We own a whole bunch of them. Things continue to get dicey in Michigan. On Thursday, hundreds of protesters, many with big, black, scary rifles, stormed Michigan's capital protesting the state's lockdown. Protesters inside the Michigan Capitol House. All this was happening while the legislature was debating on whether to extend the governor's state of emergency in response to the pandemic. The Michigan Governor, Gretchen Whitmer, has since used her executive privilege to extend the state's coronavirus emergency lockdown. Something tells me this may not end well. Some of the protesters attempted to gain entry to the House floor but were blocked by state police and the sergeant-at-arms. Anti-lockdown protests are also scheduled today in Chicago, Los Angeles, and Nueva York. This should be fun.
Not.
The good news is, Texas today ends its stay-at-home lockdown. The bad news? Texas coronavirus fatalities just hit a one-day high, 1 day before reopening. 50 new deaths were reported on Thursday. That's just, as I said, 1 day before Governor Greg Abbott's stay-at-home order was set to die. The Texas Democratic Party issued a statement attacking Abbott's decision to reopen. The Overnight Underground was able to obtain this exclusive audio from deep within the bowels of the Texas Democratic Party headquarters concerning Governor Abbott.
First of all, you're an idiot. And second, that pretty much covers it.
The Republican response?
You pompous, stuck-up, snot-nosed, giant twerp, scumbag, fuck-face, dickhead, asshole.
Of course, that was
just a stinking joke.
The markets are feeling a little crappy today, with the Dow falling over 400 points and Amazon and Apple leading the tech losers. Of course, this could all change at the drop of a hat. The Dow trend comes following Wall Street's biggest monthly surge in over 3 decades. One of the issues police have been wrestling with is how to arrest the evil doers and lawbreakers without becoming infected with the coronavirus while nabbing the perp. In India, police have come up with a novel way to arrest folks: giant tongs. The popo in India are tackling social distancing and lawbreakers by using a 6-foot pole with a giant claw at the end to collar the suspect. That's the actual sound of said giant claw. The police officer dons a surgical mask, clamps the device around the perp's waist, and guides the criminal into a pickup truck before taking him or her off to the pokey.
That is good.
Steely Dan frontman Donald Fagen told Rolling Stone that he is weathering the pandemic by, quote, gargling Clorox under a sun lamp.
Here's a good idea.
When asked if he had anything to say to his plethora of fans, the Nightfly responded, quote, what can I say? The Prez has a loose wig and is tragic. So dig the docks and hunker down in your hidey holes until they say it's cool to hit the downbeat. Hey, Mr. Fagan, go drink your big black cow and get out of here.
No! Drink the bleach!
N-E-W-S. A mostly correct and occasionally incomplete transcript and links to reference sources and articles of this Overnight Underground can be found at overnightunderground.com.